All right. Well, now it's the 19th, and we had a little scheduling mix-up, so we've started 30 minutes early. We'll explain it later so we don't waste time now. We can get right to it. Scott Ritter is in Moscow with the organizer of his trip. And I wanted to start with those clips, Scott, because, you know, it's a thing on social media to show old clips or old tweets and say, boy, that didn't age well, or sometimes the opposite. It did age well. What happened? We set the suspense in our last episode. Where have you been, and how does your experience in the last few days compare with those prior video clips? Did they age well?
They aged well. Look, with the able work of my good friend Alexander Zirionov and his magic telephone, we were able to get to the Donbass. We entered Crimea over the Crimea Bridge, and then crossed over into Kherson, then on to Zaporozhye, to Donetsk, where we visited Mariupol, and then on to the city of Donetsk, and then Lugansk, and then we returned to Moscow. It was a short trip, but it was a very eventful trip, and we got to bear witness to the reality of what's happening in the new territories of Russia.
All right, we have a few photos. Let's get through them quickly so we can get as much crammed into our limited time as possible. Here you are with some of your new friends in Russia.
Well, this is right before we entered the city of Lugansk. That is me in the middle. Alexander is on the right. Dennis, our able companion, a man who apparently doesn't know how to sleep because he drove us for God knows how many hours. He's the hardest working person I've ever met in my life. And then we have our bodyguard detachment. We have to remind everybody that this, of course, is in a war zone, and I'm not the most loved person by the Ukrainian government, and that's why we couldn't telegraph the events for the security of everybody, not just me, but for everybody. I mean, Alexander's security, Dennis's security, anybody that we're meeting with. We have to take that into account. I can't be selfish and stuff. There, I'm meeting with Colonel Khodakovsky, the commander of the Vostok battalion or regiment now, brigade. I had a very long and detailed interview with him, and I'll be sending that to you later, Jeff, and we can post it. There, I'm meeting with Denis Pushilin, the head of the Donetsk People's Republic. Again, another very interesting conversation. That is with the governor of Kherson. Again, look, because of Alexander, I was able to meet some of the most the senior people and the most fascinating people, and get very significant insights. Maybe Alexander wants to jump in and give his side of the story.
Yeah, his side of the story, as if we have an accusation against him. Hey there, Alexander. It's good to meet you. And thanks to our translator, Pavel Eshoff. Can you summarize for us, Alexander, the logistics that were involved in not only organizing this trip, but in particular the danger of the last few days? What sort of things did you encounter?
Добрый день, Джефф. Очень рад принять участие в вашей передаче. Я все время смотрю, и мне особенно нравится, когда вы подкалываете Скотта.
Good afternoon, Jeff. It's a pleasure for me to be with you, and I enjoy watching your show. I especially like it when you joke on Scott.
Да, мы проехали на машине, наверное, порядка 2500 километров. Скотт мужественно перенес все эти тяготы. Мы ели хот-доги на заправках на ходу, потому что у нас было мало времени, мы хотели все успеть.
Well, we drove for 2,500 kilometers, and Scott was very resilient in withstanding that. And we ate hot dogs at gas stations. We wanted to really hurry. We don't wanted to waste too much time before we get there.
Логистически мы заехали через Ростов с Москвы в Крым, прокатились по Крыму. встретились с главой Крыма, выехали через Чонгарский перешеек в Запорожскую область, проехали по Херсонской области, Запорожской, Донецкой и через Луганскую область вышли назад на Москву.
So logistically, we went from Moscow to Rostov, then we went to the Crimea, then we there we met the governor of the Crimea, then we went to Kherson, then to Zaporizhia, then Lugansk, and then we went back to Moscow.
Мы соблюдали все меры безопасности, в первую очередь потому, что, конечно же, нацистский режим в Киеве Скотта не любит за ту правду, которую он о них говорит, поэтому мы ожидали любой подлости от ГУР Украины, поэтому, конечно, и маршрут, и места, где мы оставались на ночь, мы держали в секрете.
And yes, we had to undertake security measures because the Kiev Nazi regime doesn't like Scott, and we could expect anything from them, from the Ukrainian intelligence. So we had to keep secrets about our routes as well as the places where we stayed.
Yeah, we stayed in a safe house in Donetsk. It was a very interesting time. I have to say that my language was improved by hanging out with Alexander, Dennis, and Russian soldiers. I learned a whole bunch of new Russian words that I can't repeat on TV.
Well, you know, I appreciate that Alexander mentioned that he likes the way we kid around and so forth. And that's actually something I was wondering, and I want to ask Alexander, because, you know, I've gotten to know Scott very well over the years. And, you know, everybody knows him as somebody who's deeply curious about the world and is very interested in history and is very serious-minded. But he also has a great sense of humor, and he's a lot of fun to be with. So, Pablo, could you ask Alexander whether or not the language barrier prevented that, or did he get to experience Scott's great sense of humor as well?
Совсем не помешал. Вы знаете, чувство юмора – это такое международное средство общения, и на самом деле это очень приятно, когда у людей сходятся чувства юмора, они понимают шутки, шутят друг над другом. У нас со Скоттом это нормально получается.
Well, it wasn't much of a problem, the language barrier, because humor is something international. It knows no boundaries. And myself and Scott, we appear to have very similar sense of humor. So we match each other in this respect.
All right. Is there a trip to the U.S. planned by Scott's new friend, Alexander?
There's an open invitation, but I think we might have issues with visas. We need relations to improve.
Okay.
Да, Джефф, скорее планируется ваш приезд вместе со Скоттом к нам в Россию в июне.
Jeff, it's more likely to have you here in Russia together with Scott in June.
Ask the inspector on the road.
All right. You talked me into it. I look forward to that. Am I going to get swarmed on the streets like Scott does because of my connection to him?
Yes, more so. You will be a superstar.
All right. Well, let's just show a couple more pictures and then try to get to a few questions in our limited time. Here you are with the governor of Crimea. Is that correct?
Correct. And that's me handing him the coin, the challenge coin that I brought for this trip. And there he's receiving it, looking at it. It was well received. I think everybody loved the coin. And I don't know, Alexander, do you think the coin was a success or a failure?
Да, конечно. Но вы знаете, у нас все-таки люди очень хорошо знают историю, помнят, тем более война для нас это такое событие, которое затронуло каждую семью. И то, что вот на медали изображена именно встреча на Эльбе, мы все это по истории учили, встречу советских и американских солдат. Конечно, это приятное воспоминание, и хотелось бы, чтобы мы дальше также могли пожать руки друг другу в конце концов и превратиться в друзей народы наших стран.
Yes, I guess it was well received. Well, in Russia, people know history quite well because the war really had an effect on almost every family. And so that historic event of the meeting on the Elbe is also quite well known. And I guess it's very symbolic. The handshake is something that we would like to have one day as well, so that we could again shake hands with the Americans.
Ну и тем более, я не знаю, с кем сравнить, кто у вас в Америке, там самый популярный актер или спортсмен, но Скотт у нас это как Том Круз, наверное, в Голливуде, и поэтому всем очень приятно из его рук получить какой-то подарок.
And then again, I don't know who best to compare Scott to what actor or athlete, but he's a real celebrity here. He's like Tom Cruise in Hollywood. So everyone is pleased when Scott is giving out presents.
All right, don't give him a big head.
Don't give me a big head. Don't worry, Jeff.
Scotty's on fire! All right, let's give away one of those coins. We'll do it after we're done talking, but you can enter the drawing now. Just type in #coin in the live chat, #coin, and we'll give it away at the end of the show. And then we'll also explain about the schedule delay and make sure everybody gets to see this. Let's try to get in a couple of questions. This is from AP in India, one of the regulars on Scott's Telegram channel. When NATO AWACS cargo planes come into the Ukrainian airspace, why doesn't the Russian air defense system shoot them down?
Because that would be an act of war, I guess. So they don't want to escalate. I don't know. I don't think a NATO AWACS, first of all, they're not cargo planes. AWACS is an airborne command and control aircraft. I don't think they've entered Ukrainian airspace. I think they've flown on the periphery of it. But in any case, the Russian government has shown extreme maturity in not seeking to do anything that would escalate this conflict. They're winning this war against Ukraine. They've won this war against Ukraine. They're still fighting to do, but why would they do anything that provides an excuse for NATO to intervene directly? So, I don't think AWACS aircraft have entered Ukraine, but even if they did, I don't think the Russians would shoot them down because they're not seeking to escalate.
All right. We have a question from Sophia in Greece, a little bit more provocative and maybe even sensitive given where you are now, but let's go with it anyway. We don't shy away from controversy. Sophia in Greece asks, what do you think will happen to Navalny? Is Putin trying to kill him?
Well, I'm going to turn this over to Alexander after I give my brief response. Navalny has been found guilty of crimes and is serving out his sentence, and I believe that he will be allowed to serve out his sentence. I don't believe that Vladimir Putin has singled him out for death. I don't think the Russian system has singled him out for death. I think he will be treated like any other convict. But Alexander might have something more to say about Navalny.
Я добавлю только, что фигура Навального за границей переоценена. В России он имеет очень маленькое значение. Вы видите, он сидит, и про него уже никто не вспоминает. Нарушил закон, сидит. Отсидит, выйдет. Видимо, будет дальше своими деятельностью вести. Но я хочу еще раз сказать, что в России про него уже все давно забыли.
Well, I want to say that Navalny is overrated in the West. In Russia, no one really remembers him anymore. He has very little significance. He has committed a crime, and now he's convicted for that, and he's doing his term in jail. And once he's released, maybe he'll continue doing what he did. But anyway, he is a non-significant figure in Russia.
All right, one of our fans left a voicemail message. His name is Lance. Let's give that a listen.
Okay. Hey, Scott, I love your show. I love your attempts to bring peace to the world, and I guess I hope they work. My name is Lance. I'm from Canada. My question is, at this point, would Russia just be best to withdraw from Ukraine? Because, I mean, they're not going to stop lining up countries and propagandizing countries in Europe. Leave Ukraine and try to make a deal with, say, Libya and Syria to relocate all of the Russians, because that could really stabilize those countries and really give Russia a fantastic economic footprint, possibly even make them part of the Russian Federation. Just curious what you think of something like that. Thank you.
Well, Lance, I'm assuming that's a tongue-in-cheek reference, in that you really recognize the fact that, first of all, Russia isn't going to withdraw anywhere. Russia has absorbed 4 new territories, 5 if you count Crimea since 2014, 4 since 2022. Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, and Lugansk are part of the Russian Federation, regardless of what the West thinks. One of the things that happened on this trip is that I was able to meet the people that live there and talk to them and see them. And I will tell you right now that they consider themselves to be Russian citizens, and they consider themselves to be Russians. They're not going anywhere. The Russian government's not going anywhere. the Russian military is not going anywhere. But again, Alexander might have something more to add to this.
Я бы добавил, что эти люди никуда уезжать не будут. Это их земля, там похоронены их предки, несколько сот лет, которые эту землю завоевывали, удерживали, пахали, сеяли. Там похоронены их предки, еще раз хочу сказать, что поэтому это русская земля, это русские люди, они будут жить там.
Well, I want to add that these people are not going anywhere. This is their land. It's the land where their ancestors lived and died and fought and harvested bread. So it's their land, and they're not leaving it.
All right. Who knows if Lance was playing devil's advocate or if he really meant that. But in any case, he got himself an answer. Here's a question from somebody watching us live on YouTube. Despite our early start, we have over 1,000 people watching. Have you been to the main temple of the Russian armed forces? It is very interesting.
No, I wanted to go. Alexander is very careful with my schedule. He doesn't want me to see everything at once so that I have a reason to come back. And I'm hopeful that if I do return to Moscow, that Alexander will give me the opportunity to see that temple and some other sites.
How about the Alley of Angels? Did you go there?
We went to the Alley of Angels in Lugansk, where there's a monument where 68 children who have been killed in this fighting there's a memorial to them. And so, we saw as part of the tragedy of this conflict that so many innocents have lost their lives.
Okay. Has he a political joke about Alinsky? Is that supposed to be Volinsky?
Zelensky, I guess, but they take the Z out because the Z is illegal. And I don't know. I don't have a political joke. Alexander, do you have a political joke about Zelensky? Or no?
Blame it on our viewers.
Yeah.
Ну,
Wait.
Джефф, они есть, но не для радиоэфира.
Jeff, I have them, but not for a live show.
All right. Fair enough.
I told you I learned a lot of new words traveling with Alexander, so we can't.
Now I'm really coming to
Очень много
Russia.
американцев узнает много нехороших слов, которые знает Скотт.
Otherwise, many Americans would learn the bad words that Scott now knows, and I don't want that.
Oh,
you have
yeah.
to come here, Jeff, to experience it yourself.
All right. Now I'm really coming so I can hear these jokes. Let's see what else we have. Here's somebody else watching on YouTube. Red October War Thunder Vids. Can we expect Europe and the West to pay reparations to Russia?
No, and I don't think Russia is going to demand. Russia's a mature nation. Russia is going to do it, but in many ways, and this is a good transition, perhaps because we're running out of time to end the show. But in many ways, Russia is grateful for the economic aspect of the West's attacks. The economic sanctions against Russia have backfired. And Alexander Zhiryanov is, he's the director of the Investment Development Agency in Novosibirsk. He's the man that's responsible for the fastest growing economy in Russia. Novosibirsk is the third largest city with the fastest growing economy. And it's because of Alexander Zhiryanov and people like him that do that. And so Alexander does have a joke. I'll give him a chance to thank Joe Biden. Do you want to thank Joe Biden for making your economy great again?
Да, Джефф, мы даже тут смеемся, что, наверное, в итоге Байдену нужно будет дать звезду Героя России за ту поддержку, которую наказывает нашей экономике. А по поводу репараций я просто в шутку скажу, что нам не нужно чужих денег от Европы, от Америки. Пусть вернут те 300 миллиардов, которые они у нас украли.
Well, Jeff, we have a joke that probably Joe Biden has to be awarded the medal of, the Star of the Hero of Russia for what he has done for the Russian economy, all the benefit he has done to it. Regarding the reparations, my comment would be that we don't want others' money. We don't want the money of Europe or the United States. All we want is to get back our 300 billion that was frozen and almost stolen from us.
All right. Well, Alexander's job is to help develop things economically and otherwise. And so he speaks with some expertise. I wish we had more time to get into that, but let's try to get one more answer out of Alexander. Can you tell us, Alexander, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people in the United States have about Russia?
Я думаю, их главное заблуждение, что они видят в нас каких-то врагов, которые там живут и думают, как уничтожить Америку. Я вас уверяю, что это не так. Мы такие же люди, как и американцы. Мы хотим создавать семьи, рожать детей, путешествовать, приезжать в гости к вам, чтобы вы приезжали в гости к нам. Поэтому вот это, я думаю, что самое главное заблуждение, что мы какие-то злые, кровожадные. Нет, это не так. И даже касаемо Украины, я хочу привести очень простой пример, почему мы были вынуждены начать спецоперацию. Пусть любой житель США представит, что российские ракеты появятся на границе США, например, в Канаде и в Мексике. Я думаю, что США в тот же день бы начали военную операцию против этих стран. И мы сейчас находимся в той же ситуации. США, Западная Европа пытаются втянуть Украину в НАТО и разместить ядерные ракеты у наших границ. Мы никогда этого не позволим, а так мы за мир, за дружбу. И ждем всех в гости, приглашаем всех в Россию, чтобы убедиться, что мы нормальные люди, такие же, как и жители США.
Well, I guess the biggest misconception of Americans regarding Russians is that we want to destroy America, but this is not so. We want to, like Americans, we want to have families, we want to have children, we want to travel, we want to travel to the US and to have American people coming to us. We are not cruel or evil-minded. And regarding Ukraine, why we had to start this special military operation. Let me give you an example. Imagine that Russian nuclear missiles appeared next to the border of the US in Canada or Mexico. I'm confident that the US would immediately initiate an operation to respond. And that is the reason why we started that. The Ukraine is being dragged into NATO, and we don't want that. We don't want NATO nuclear missiles on our border. Otherwise, we are very peaceful and we want peace with the Americans. And please come and visit us. We will be happy to entertain you.
All right. That sounds great. All right. We're going to have to end it now. And after we say goodbye to these nice people, Yelena and I will stick with you for a few more minutes and we'll explain what happened. Don't worry, Scott. I won't throw you under the bus too much when I give that
Too
explanation.
much, yeah. I just want to admit that it's my mistake, not Jeff's.
All right, now I don't have to throw you under the bus. Okay. Thank you for being so gracious. Thank you, Alexander, and thank you, Pavel, for your help translating. We appreciate it very much. We miss you and love you, Scott. Our next episode will be when Scott is back in the U.S. 1 week from today. I swear this is accurate, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, next Friday, the 26th. We'll say goodbye now to our friends in Moscow. All the best to you. We love you too.
Okay, Jeff. Thanks, Jeff.
Да. Спасибо, Джефф. До встречи в России.
Thank you very much, Jeff, and see you in Russia.
Okay. You can count on it. As long as I get that passport and visa. We'll see you.
Okay. Bye.
Ngày thứ 3 một đơn một tăng. Phần tiếp theo, chúng ta móc từ hàng thứ tư đến hàng thứ 15. Mỗi hàng 18 móc